Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
It was the day after Thanksgiving, and in Jacksonville, Florida, 4 teenage boys were getting ready to go to the mall. It was Black Friday 2012, a day of super sales and the unofficial beginning of the Christmas season, but the boys were more interested in meeting up with some girls and hanging out for the evening than shopping. 19-year-old Tommy Storns picked up his friends, Leland Brunson and Jordan Davis, from Davis's house in his red Durango SUV. The 3 friends drove a few minutes to their friend Tevin Thompson's house, where they got dressed up to go out. The boys had only hung out as a group once before November 23, 2012, and were new friends. But what happened that fateful night 8 years ago would bond the boys together forever. Tommy drove the group first to the Town Center Mall, an upscale outdoor mall in southeast Jacksonville. There, they visited Jordan's girlfriend, Aaliyah Harris, who was working at Urban Outfitters. Jordan and Aaliyah had met at school, but hadn't been dating for very long. When he, Tommy, Tevin, and Leland stopped by the store, she was surprised by the visit. They chatted for a little while, until she had to get back to work, and the boys left. The boys decided to leave the Town Center Mall and hit up the Avenues Mall in Jacksonville's South Side neighborhood. The boys piled back into Tommy's SUV, with Tommy driving and Tevin in the front passenger seat, while Leland and Jordan were in the back. On the way to the mall, the boys stopped at a Gate gas station on Southside Boulevard to buy gum and cigarettes. Tommy left the car running and went into the gas station store, while the 3 other boys remained in the car, loud rap music playing from the car's speakers. Tommy came back to the car a few minutes later and got into the driver's seat. He saw a man in a black Volkswagen Jetta parked next to him say something, and then he saw a gun. The man fired the gun 3 times, and Tommy threw his car into reverse to get away. The gunshots continued as he reversed and drove into a neighboring plaza. He heard glass shatter. Then more gunshots as he drove his friends to safety. Tommy noticed the man with the gun was now outside of his sedan, but didn't appear to be following the teens. Tommy stopped the car in the middle of the neighboring parking lot and called out his friends' names, wanting to make sure everyone was okay. Tevin? Yes. Leland? Yes. Jordan? All Tommy heard was his friend gasping for air. Tommy jumped out of the Durango and walked over to where Jordan was sitting. He saw Jordan was hurt but still alive. There were bullet holes in the car door. Tommy ran back to the driver's side and drove back to the Gate gas station parking lot, thinking it was a good place to get help for his injured friend. Tevin and Tommy called 911 for help, while bystanders at the gas station pulled Jordan out of the Durango and administered CPR. Hours later at a local hospital, 17-year-old Jordan Davis was pronounced dead from 4 gunshot wounds. This is Jillian, and you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 106. We live in such an advanced society nowadays, where robots can vacuum our houses and we can send text messages through the watches on our wrists. But the hair coloring industry is one thing that has always stayed the same, and it's frustrating. You either go to a hair salon where you sit for hours and not to mention spend tons of money, or you have to go to a convenience store and try to pick out your own color. Then you get the color you think you should go with, and it ends up drying out your hair, or worse, not being at all what you envisioned. But now there's finally another option, Madison Reed. You can now get ammonia-free, multidimensional hair color delivered right to your door, starting at just $22. Here's how it works. Go to madison-reed.com and take their quick and easy quiz, which asks you things like what you want your end result to be, what your hair texture is, your skin tone, how often you color your hair, etc. Their master colorists then match you with your perfect shade so you don't have to guess. I did it in just a couple minutes, and the shade they recommended for me was exactly the shade I wanted. So if you want gorgeous hair color that you can do right from your home and look like you just came from the salon, check out madison-reed.com. And now, Court Junkies can get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Just go to madison-reed.com and use the code COURT. That's madison-reed.com. Use the code COURT. What do companies like Ring, Hint, and Tecovas all have in common? They all use NetSuite to accelerate their growth. Successful companies know that in order to grow faster, you must have the right tools. If you want to take your company from 2 million to 10 million or 10 million to hundreds of millions in revenue, NetSuite by Oracle gives you the tools to turbocharge your growth. With NetSuite, you get a full picture of your business, finance, inventory, HR, customers, and more. It's everything you need to grow, all in one place. Run your entire business from anywhere, even if you're working from home. With NetSuite, you're covered. NetSuite will give you the visibility and control you need to make the right decisions and grow with confidence. That's why NetSuite customers grow faster than the S&P 500. NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud business system, trusted by more than 20,000 companies. It's the last system you'll ever need. NetSuite. Business grows here. Schedule your free product tour right now and receive your free guide, 6 ways to run a more profitable business at netsuite.com/court. That's netsuite.com/court. Within 24 hours of Jordan's murder, his killer was apprehended. The Jacksonville County Sheriff's Office arrested 45-year-old software engineer Michael Dunn outside his Satellite Beach home, some 2.5 hours from the Gate gas station in Jacksonville. Following the shooting, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office had responded to the scene and scoured the Dodge Durango and the gas station parking lot for evidence. Police found 9 bullet holes in the Durango. Andrew Kipple, an evidence technician with the sheriff's office, said. Kipple said 3 bullets hit the front passenger door and were stopped by the door's interior metal wall, narrowly missing Tevin Thompson. A bullet through the truck's rear window passed through the car and struck the driver's side sun visor next to Tommy Storns' head and then hit the front window. Kipple would later testify in court that he found several items, including a cell phone, a basketball, and a bottle of hair gel in the car, but did not find a weapon or anything remotely resembling a weapon. He said the boys who survived were lucky to be alive, given how narrowly the bullets missed them during the shooting. A bystander to the shooting had jotted down the license plate number of the car that had fired on the boys, and within a few hours, police had identified the man believed to be responsible as Michael Dunn. Police canvassed local businesses to see if they had video footage of the shooting, but to their dismay, no one, including the Gate gas station, had captured any video. There was no video evidence that could show police what may have led to the fatal shooting. Leland, who hadn't stopped shaking and was visibly emotional, as well as Tevin and Tommy, were taken from the gas station that night to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit. They were put in separate rooms and interviewed separately between 11:30 p.m. and 12 a.m. the following morning. The police showed the boys a photo spread of various suspects, including Michael Dunn, in hopes that the boys would be able to identify the man who had shot them. All three identified Michael Dunn as the killer. Michael Dunn and his fiancée, Rhonda Rower, had been in Jacksonville over Thanksgiving for his son Christopher's wedding. They had arrived in town on Thanksgiving with their 7-month-old French bulldog Charlie in tow and checked into the Deerfield Sheraton near Jacksonville. The wedding was the Friday after Thanksgiving in Orange Park, a suburb of Jacksonville, Dunn told Duval County detectives in a recorded interview. He and Rhonda went to the ceremony, stayed at the reception until about 7 p.m., and left to return to their hotel room so they could let Charlie out for a bathroom break. On the way back, the couple stopped at a Gate gas station on Southside Boulevard, and Dunn parked next to a red Durango because it was the closest parking spot to the convenience store. After they had parked, Dunn said the Durango began to play loud music. Rhonda went into the store to buy a bottle of white wine and some potato chips, leaving Dunn alone in the car. He told investigators that the music was so unbearably loud that he rolled down his window and politely asked the boys in the Durango's back seat to turn the music down.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say this, but got out. She's in the store, and there's like a SUV next to us, and then the music starts. Mm-hmm. And I rolled down my window, and I thought it was polite. I asked them nicely. I didn't demand. I didn't. Mm-hmm. Or else I said, hey, would you guys mind turning that down? And they shut it off. Mm-hmm. I was like, thank you. Mm-hmm. Cordial. Everything's cordial.
He said he rolled his window back up and everything was fine until he started hearing the guy in the back seat, who was later identified as Jordan Davis, swearing at him. He said Jordan was agitated and told his friend in the front seat to turn the music back up, and so the music started blasting again. He said he didn't know if they were singing or what, but he could then hear them say, "Kill him." He said he rolled down his window again and said, "Excuse me, are you talking about me?" He said Jordan was swearing at him and then pulled out what looked like a shotgun, threatened him, and then opened the car door. So Dunn pulled out his own gun from the glove box and fired. The Durango then started driving away. Dunn said he was still scared, and so he shot about 4 more times as the Durango was fleeing.
And that was it. I mean, I still didn't feel safe. I thought, there was another car. I didn't know. I mean, I'm in a strange town, in a strange area. I just had my life threatened. The love of my life is in the store. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know what's going on. She come outside to see what was up. And I was just like, get in the car. We have to go. So,
well, where'd you go after?
We went right to our room.
You went right to the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't leave. We were just like
in the hotel room?
bricks waiting for another carload of thugs to come. I mean...
He said he went over this 1 million times, and what he should have done was to put the car in reverse. But it was fight or flight, he said, and he didn't think there was any time for flight at that moment. I was going to get shot, he said. After the shooting, Rhonda came out of the store and the two left the scene for their hotel. Dunn told detectives that they parked outside the hotel's front entrance and went straight to their room. Dunn took his puppy for a walk outside the hotel, while Rhonda remained inside the room. Neither called 911, but they did order a pizza to be delivered to the hotel, Dunn said. He learned on TV later that night that a teenager had been killed during the shooting. The next morning, after sleeping very little, Dunn said he and Rhonda checked out of the hotel at 8 a.m. and drove home to Satellite Beach. When detectives pressed him on why he left Jacksonville without calling 911, Dunn said he didn't want to bring, quote, the shitstorm down in Jacksonville and wanted to get Rhonda and the puppy settled at home before things got out of control. He admitted to detectives that he never should have left the scene, but said he left because he was still afraid for his life. Right off the bat, police were skeptical about Dunn's story. Had the teenagers really threatened the 45-year-old man? Why did Dunn flee after the shooting instead of calling 911 if he was so threatened and afraid? And if Dunn said he was threatened by a gun, then why had no weapon been recovered from either the vehicle or the gas station? Police told Dunn there hadn't been a weapon in Tommy Storns' vehicle. In response, Dunn asked the detectives if there had been a stick or anything like it that he could have confused with a gun. No, the detectives said. The officers were also confused by something else Dunn was saying. He said Jordan was starting to get out of the Durango when he pulled out his gun and fired.
But yet, by the time you come back and start shooting, he's still in the truck.
He's coming out. I think he saw what I was doing when it was running back in. I don't know. But
See, that's where I'm a little thrown off here. Okay? Because he is sitting in the back seat of that truck when he is hit. Okay? Because the bullet goes right through the door. 3 bullets went through that door. Okay? He wasn't hit standing outside the truck.
Oh no, I know I shot through the door.
Okay, so
driving him back.
How's he getting out of the door if you're shooting through it? You're confusing us.
All right. When the latch is coming off the door, that's when I went to do what I was doing with the gun. And when I came back, I'm firing.
When the latch is coming off the door?
No, when I got my gun out of the...
When you said earlier about that, when you see the latch, what do you mean by the latch coming?
Well, the door's opening, and he's stepping out.
Okay, and he's stepping out.
Yes, and then
And you go and reach, but by the time you come back and come up just blazing, somehow he's still sitting in the truck.
Well, maybe I'm not as fast with the whole thing as I think I am, but it was...
Or maybe he wasn't getting out of the truck.
No, absolutely he was.
The officers also explained that none of the teenagers had a history of violence, and none of the witnesses heard any kind of altercation or dispute between Dunn and the boys. Dunn told the detectives that in his mind, the boys had a weapon, and he assumed they wanted to hurt him.
When you got into a confrontation with those guys, a man of your stature, if there was a gun in that truck, they would have shot you. They wouldn't have had to get out. They would have shot right through. They would have shot from the truck just like you were shooting from your car.
Because you guys are, you're directly next to
They have the beam on you. The truck is actually higher than your car.
I'm in front with the front passenger.
And we can tell you another thing from working murders in Jacksonville. People don't get out of the car to be seen when they're shooting someone. They're going to shoot you right side of that truck.
All right. He's getting out of his car. We're this close to each other. He was getting out of his car after repeatedly telling me that he was going to kill me.
Dunn continued to tell police that he feared for his life and was acting in self-defense. But by the end of the nearly hour-long interview, Dunn was charged with first-degree murder and 3 counts of second-degree attempted murder. All Michael Dunn said in reaction to his impending arrest was, "That sucks." Shortly after Jordan Davis's murder, his parents filed a wrongful death and defamation civil lawsuit against Michael Dunn, arguing that he caused them damage when he claimed their son was violent. Dunn initially did not agree to a settlement, but the 2 parties eventually settled for an undisclosed amount in January 2014, before the start of Dunn's criminal trial. Dunn's trial loomed large in the United States and drew comparisons to the trial of George Zimmerman, who was acquitted in 2013 of all charges after shooting and killing 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida. Like Martin's death, Davis's killing and Dunn's trial launched civil rights protests across the nation and brought a renewed focus to the issue of racial profiling. The cases did have many similarities. Both featured a 17-year-old boy who was black, shot by a man who was white within the same year. The shootings came at a time when the Black Lives Matter movement was gaining momentum, and Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law was drawing increased scrutiny. The law, codified in 2005, allows people to use lethal force and claim self-defense if they have a reasonable belief that their lives are threatened, regardless of whether the threat is real or perceived. Michael Dunn went to trial in February 2014. To secure a first-degree murder conviction, the state of Florida was tasked with proving that Dunn had acted with malice when he shot Jordan Davis. Assistant State Attorney John Guy said in his opening statement that Dunn shot at the boys because he was angry and that he intended to kill them. He said the boys were simply out enjoying themselves when 9 bullets came crashing through their vehicle, killing Jordan Davis.
He was lying in the back seat with his head in Leland Brunson's lap. Unbeknownst to any of them, 3 of those bullets had found their target. One of them had entered his right leg. One of them had entered his left leg. And one of them had entered his right side, tore through his liver, passed through both of his lungs, and shredded his aorta. And then the blood that for 17 years had run so naturally through Jordan Davis's veins and arteries was pouring out of them.
Prosecutor Guy's opening statement focused on Dunn's reaction to the shooting and his behavior in its aftermath. He described for the jury how Dunn drove back to his hotel room and walked his dog. He then ordered a pizza and made himself a big rum and coke, Prosecutor Guy said, before watching a movie. He fell asleep around the same time that an emergency room doctor pronounced Jordan Davis dead. Rather than moving his car or going into the store because the music was bothering him, Prosecutor Guy said Dunn rolled down his window and chose to engage in an altercation. He urged the jury to find the inconsistencies in Dunn's story. He said Jordan Davis, who wasn't alive to tell his side of the story in court, didn't want to be told what to listen to or at what volume by anyone, let alone a total stranger. He said after Davis and Dunn exchanged words, the next thing anyone heard were the, quote, 3 incredibly loud bangs that killed Jordan Davis. Corey Strola, Dunn's defense attorney, repeatedly told the jury that Dunn felt threatened by Jordan Davis, Tevin Thompson, Leland Brunson, and Tommy Storns. For the first time in his life, he has to defend himself, Strola said of Dunn. He had never used his gun before that night.
The first person to get upset, and the evidence is going to show that the only person that cursed was Jordan Davis. And his words to Michael Dunn were, I'm going to fucking kill you. I should kill you right now. See, that's what Mr. Guy didn't tell you. The facts are going to come out prior to any gunshots being fired.
Strola said that Jordan Davis antagonized Dunn into shooting him and that the teenager was solely responsible for escalating the situation. He argued that there was no visible sign of aggression or anger from Dunn. Dunn hadn't gotten out of his vehicle, hadn't banged on his steering wheel, and hadn't yelled at the boys before the shooting. On the other hand, he said Jordan Davis had gotten out of the car, had sworn at Dunn, and engaged his client in an altercation. Strola also argued that police botched the investigation and thought it was a typical Jacksonville murder, not a case of self-defense. Jacksonville is the murder capital of Florida, he said, and police responded to the shooting like it was every other incident and not a clear case of self-defense. He said there was a lot of time for the teenagers to get rid of the weapon Dunn had seen Jordan Davis holding. The gas station parking lot was big enough that some people hadn't even heard the shooting, he said, and police didn't search the gas station parking lot, the bushes, the roof of the gas station, the dumpsters, or the nearby lakes. The parking lot wasn't even secured. It was open to the public shortly after the investigation, Strola said, and evidence could have been hidden, destroyed, or simply overlooked. The jury was tasked with stepping into Michael Dunn's shoes and determining whether he had acted reasonably prior to the shooting. They needed to decide whether he had acted with malice and intended to kill the boys, or whether his life really had been threatened and the shooting was justified. The state's first witness was Jordan's girlfriend, Aaliyah Harris. As mentioned before, Aaliyah worked at the Town Center Mall at Urban Outfitters and saw Jordan shortly before his death. He had come to visit her that night and seemed to be in good spirits and happy, she said. Nothing about his demeanor suggested he was agitated or aggressive or looking for a fight. Aaliyah's testimony was brief. On cross-examination, defense attorney Corey Strolla asked her if Jordan had ever owned a gun. Aaliyah said no, he hadn't. He asked her if Jordan had ever carried a knife. No, Aaliyah said. She had never known him to carry a knife. Strolla finished the cross-examination by asking Aaliyah how long she had been dating Jordan. He wanted to undermine her testimony and show that she didn't really know Jordan that well, and therefore could not reliably say if he had owned a gun or carried a knife. She responded that they had only been together for 60 days before the shooting. After Aaliyah's testimony, the state called several witnesses to the stand who had actually seen the shooting at the Gate gas station that night. First up was Steve Smith, a general contractor who built apartment complexes and had been at the gas station that night to buy a fountain drink. Smith said he had frequented the gas station to pick up snacks and drinks for his crew, but on the night of November 23, 2012, it felt a little different. Prosecutor Angela Corey, who was one of 3 prosecutors working the trial, asked Smith if he had noticed a red Dodge Durango that night. Smith said he had, and that he had avoided parking next to it because there was music playing loudly and he didn't want to deal with it. He pulled into another parking spot to avoid the nuisance, he said. There were plenty of open spots at the gas station, so it wasn't a problem. Smith testified that he got out of his truck and went inside the convenience store. He joked to the cashier about how loud the music was and said, "I wish they'd turn it up. It's my favorite song." The cashier laughed and Smith left the store to return to his vehicle. On his way out, Smith saw the Durango was still blasting music, but didn't notice anything else, and testified that he didn't see anyone in the truck talking to anyone in the nearby cars. Nobody was outside of the cars, he said. Smith passed behind Dunn's Volkswagen Jetta at the time of the shooting. He testified that he saw no weapons coming out of the window of the Durango, but did hear a man say, "You're not going to talk to me that way," in an angry voice, before he saw a pistol coming out of the Jetta's window.
When I heard someone yell, I immediately turned around and I saw a pistol in the front seat between the steering wheel, glove compartment area. It was a big silver chrome, either a 9mm or a .45. It was a large caliber pistol.
Tell the jurors how you could see that.
I turned around and it was right here. I had a pistol.
And what portion of the black Jetta were you looking through to be able to observe what you just described?
The passenger's window.
Okay. And was there anyone that you noticed in the passenger seat or in the back seat of the black Jetta?
No, ma'am.
What happened then?
The gun was pulled around and shots were fired at the red Durango.
Okay. Was there someone firing those shots?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you notice that to be?
The driver.
After witnessing the shooting, Smith said a woman came out of the convenience store, and the man in the Volkswagen Jetta said, "Get in, let's go," and the car drove away. The state's next witness was Andrew Williams, who was driving past the gas station on Southside Boulevard when the shooting occurred. Williams had been driving his wife and 2 teenagers they knew from their church. Williams and his wife were chaperoning the 2 teens on their first date. They, like Jordan Davis and his friends, were on their way to the Avenues Mall. They had planned to get some dinner and then see a movie at Tinseltown Theater. Williams heard the shooting while he was driving and pulled into the Gate gas station to see if he could help. He testified that he saw a black car leave the parking lot quickly. He said he never saw the 4 boys in the red Durango, which had returned to the Gate gas station, discard any weapons or toss anything from their car. He told prosecutors the young men were crying and yelling, he's not moving," so he rushed over to help. He took Jordan's pulse while the boy's friends held him and continued to cry. The Gate gas station cashier, Mariah Grimes, testified next, and she said she had been helping Dunn's fiancée, Rhonda Rower, at the time of the shooting. Grimes heard the gunshots and exclaimed, he's shooting, get down." But the woman had walked out of the store, leaving her chips and white wine on the counter. Grimes described seeing the same thing that the other witnesses had, a man shooting a silver pistol pointing out of a black Volkswagen Jetta. But the prosecution was hoping that a man named Sean Atkins would be their most essential witness in the case. Atkins was a homeless man who had been living in his car and who happened to have parked at the gas station when the shooting happened. Atkins proved to be an unlikely star witness for the prosecution. When he testified, he was actually incarcerated at the Florida State Penitentiary and serving a 7-year sentence for stealing from his grandmother and her friend. In fact, in a twist of irony, his criminal case was prosecuted by the same attorneys working Dunn's case. Atkins was escorted into the courtroom by security, shackled and in his prison uniform. He told the jury that he was living in his truck on November 23, 2012, and had parked at the Gate gas station so that his girlfriend could use the bathroom. He testified that he heard 2 or 3 pops that sounded like firecrackers. He looked over just in time to witness a man with gray hair shoot a gun towards the red Durango from a small black sedan. A minute later, a woman came out of the gas station store, got into the man's car, and they drove off. Atkins said he got out of his car and, as he watched the black sedan drive away, wrote down the license plate number.
How did the shooter drive off?
Fast. They drove off the same direction as the Durango. With a little bit of speed.
Okay. Did you stay in your car after you had memorized his license tag number?
For a second, just to make sure he drove off a little bit, and then I went up into the Gate gas station.
All right. What did you do when you got inside the Gate gas station?
I gave the first cashier I seen the license plate number.
Atkins and his girlfriend left the gas station immediately after the shooting because he had violated his probation 5 days earlier. He knew that if he waited for police to arrive on the scene, he would immediately be arrested. As it were, Atkins was still arrested for violating his probation the next day and was arrested again months later for crimes that would land him in prison. Prosecutor Angela Corey would later call Atkins the hero of the case for his quick thinking after the shooting. She said he willingly worked with prosecutors and requested nothing in return. Typically, people who are incarcerated give prosecutors information in return for shortened prison sentences, but Atkins never requested that. If he hadn't gotten that license tag, I'm not sure where this case would have gone, to be honest with you, she said in a press conference. But that license tag allowed police to work through the night. They found out who owned that vehicle. Great news! I have discovered my favorite subscription box, one that is so exciting to see on my doorstep. If you haven't heard about CauseBox by now, it's a quarterly subscription box, so you get it 4 times a year, that is curated by women for women. It's filled with all sorts of amazing products and brands that are ethical, sustainable, and have a positive mission to give back and make the world better. Each CauseBox is limited edition, and it comes with 6 to 8 full-size products, not little samples. You can get everything from skincare to jewelry to housewares and accessories. The amazing thing about CauseBox is that it's not filled with random stuff. They send you quality products that you're going to love and actually use every day. I got my own sample box, and here are some of my favorite things that were in it. An adorable gray and white striped duffel bag that I now use to carry everything around in. 3 sets of earrings, a bento box, a jade roller for my face, 4-in-1 correcting primer, an insulated tumbler, and a beautiful pink portfolio. CauseBox is so awesome that their last 4 boxes sold out within days, which isn't hard to believe considering you get over $250 worth of products for less than just $50. What's even cooler is that each CauseBox comes with an exclusive magazine that tells the story and mission behind each product in the box. When you get your delivery, it honestly feels like you're unwrapping a huge surprise bundle of gifts. Not only would I get this for myself, but for pretty much any other female in my life too. All you court junkies can get an exclusive discount. Just go to causebox.com/courtjunkie and use the code courtjunkie to get your first box for 30% off. As in, you can get your first box worth over $250 for less than $39 and free shipping. Don't wait. Go check out CauseBox right now. I can tell you firsthand you're going to love it. That's causebox.com/courtjunkie. There will always be things we look back on and think, how did I get it so wrong? Maybe it was the bangs you cut for yourself that one time, or maybe the person you dated years ago. You know the one. But that's life, right? We're always going to get things wrong. But there are also things we can get right on the first try, like shopping for home insurance. And that's where Policygenius comes in. Here's how easy it is. All you have to do is go to policygenius.com and answer a few questions about yourself and your property. Then, Policygenius will compare your policy against options from top insurers to make sure you're getting the right home insurance coverage at the best possible price. They've got a great track record. They've saved their customers an average of $690 per year doing just that. And if Policygenius does find you a better rate than what you're currently paying, they'll even do all the work to get you switched. Own a car too? Policygenius will compare your home and auto policies across different insurers and even mix and match, all to find you savings. So even if you look back at those old photos of yourself with the hideous bangs and get all bummed out, you'll never be distressed about home insurance with Policygenius. In just a few minutes, you can find your best price and apply at policygenius.com. We all get things wrong from time to time. At least we can get home insurance right with Policygenius. The second day of Michael Dunn's trial was marked by the emotional testimony of the three friends Jordan Davis had been out with the night he was killed. When police arrived on scene, they saw Tevin Thompson, Leland Brunson, and Tommy Storns in the parking lot of the gas station, cradling Jordan's body. Leland Brunson was sobbing uncontrollably, police said, but they separated the boys from Jordan while paramedics worked to revive him. The boys were eventually all taken to police headquarters to be interviewed when they calmed down. Tevin Thompson was the first to testify. He told prosecutors that he had met Jordan through mutual friends, and they quickly became close. On the night of the murder, Tommy, Jordan, and Leland picked Tevin up at his house, and they went to the town center mall. Tevin said he wasn't quite sure what time they left the mall, but they stopped at the gas station so that Tommy could get cigarettes and gum on the way to the Avenues Mall. The other three boys stayed in the car, he said, and were playing music while they waited. Prosecutors asked Tevin if he could identify the man who had parked next to them after Tommy went into the gas station store, and Tevin identified Michael Dunn as the gray-haired man sitting in the courtroom, wearing a black sweater over a white button-down. Tevin said he heard Dunn say, "I can't hear myself think," and asked them to turn down the music. Tevin was sitting in the Durango's passenger seat and complied. He said Jordan then said to him, "Fuck that, turn the music back up," from the back seat. Tevin said Jordan was clearly talking to him, not Michael Dunn, and he turned the music back up to appease his friend. Tevin said he heard Jordan talk with Dunn, likely in response to the man, but he said he never heard his friend yell or threaten the defendant in any way.
Did you ever see anything in Jordan Davis's hands while he was talking to the defendant?
No, sir.
Did you see or hear Jordan Davis attempt to get out of the Durango at any point?
No, sir.
Did you ever see or hear Leland Brunson threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
And did you threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Tevin said at some point Tommy got back in the car. Shortly after that, Michael Dunn fired into the car, prompting the boys to flee. Recalling those tense moments for the jury, Tevin said he remembered Tommy calling everyone's name and Jordan gasping for breath in response. Dunn's attorney, Corey Strolla, grilled Tevin on how loud the music was in the car. He tried to poke holes in the three boys' testimonies by asking questions that implied that the music was so loud that they couldn't possibly have heard Jordan threaten Dunn or heard an altercation.
Is it possible that Jordan Davis threatened Mr. Dunn and you didn't hear it?
Sustained.
Are there things that he was saying and yelling that you couldn't hear because the music was loud?
Yes, sir.
Same thing with Leland Brunson. He's sitting right there behind you, and you couldn't hear him talk either.
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that you never heard Mr. Dunn say anything? You could only see him, what you say, mouth the words through a window.
Yes, sir.
And his windows were up.
Yes, sir.
And his windows aren't tinted, right?
No, sir.
And your windows were.
Yes, sir.
And you even told me that he could never even see inside the car because they're tinted, correct?
Correct.
So at that point, he just knows he's talking to a car full of people, right?
Sustained.
Leland Brunson's testimony was very similar to Tevin's. Leland had been best friends with Jordan and had known him the longest of all three boys. He told prosecutors that he never heard his friend threaten Michael Dunn, and he had never seen his friend with a weapon. Leland said Jordan was tired of people telling him what to do, and has said as much in the car. He said Jordan didn't yell at Dunn until the 45-year-old man was already screaming at the boys about disrespecting him. Leland also said that Jordan never used profanity while speaking with Dunn. Tommy Storns' testimony went the longest of the three boys. He was, after all, the person sitting closest to Michael Dunn when the shooting occurred. Tommy was inside the gas station store for whatever the preamble to the shooting was. But when the gun went off, Tommy's first reaction, he said, was to get away, and he threw the car into reverse. The gunshots continued as they drove away. Tommy got out of the Durango to check to make sure his vehicle was okay and didn't have any severe damage. He then described realizing that Jordan had been shot.
When you called Jordan Davis's name, did he respond?
No, sir.
Did you look back into the back seat when Jordan Davis didn't respond?
Yes, sir.
And how was Jordan Davis positioned?
Against Leland?
Against Leland?
Yes.
Like leaning on him?
Yes, sir.
Was Jordan Davis making any sounds at that time?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
He was gasping for air.
Was Jordan Davis moving in any way?
No, sir.
He ran back to the driver's side and drove back to the Gate gas station, his best chance of getting his friend help. Tommy was on felony probation for a third-degree felony burglary and had a 7 p.m. curfew, a fact that drew scrutiny from Corey Strola. Strola questioned whether Tommy was telling the truth about where he was the night Jordan was killed, questioning how long it took them to get from the first mall to the gas station, and wondered if Tommy was hiding facts and times to avoid issues with his probation. Tommy denied doing so. Strola also questioned Tommy's character by asking him about a song he had written, produced, and released called Jordan Davis in the days after the murder. Strola asked, "Didn't you release this song in hopes you'd make money off of his death?" "No," Tommy responded. "But you had only hung out with Jordan Davis twice, including the day of the shooting?" Strola pressed on. "Yes, that's correct," Tommy replied. Strola again tried to plant the seed of doubt that Tommy, Tevin, and Leland were actually witnesses to an altercation started by Jordan with Michael Dunn. All three boys had maintained throughout their testimony that Dunn became angry with them, and Jordan had not done anything to provoke him. "Did Mr. Dunn do anything to make you notice him?" Strola asked. "No," Tommy said. "He wasn't banging on the steering wheel and screaming?" Strola asked. "No," Tommy responded. Strola wanted to make the case that Dunn had remained calm and collected during his interactions with the boys, and that he hadn't shot Jordan Davis in a fit of rage, but rather had genuinely feared for his life. Rhonda Rower, Michael Dunn's fiancée, was the prosecution's first witness on the third day of the trial. Her testimony was highly anticipated by the prosecution, as she was able to paint a picture of what happened and how Michael Dunn had behaved in the shooting's aftermath. Rhonda looked visibly nervous, and her voice shook as she began her testimony. She sniffled loudly before she started and frequently had to pause to dry her eyes and regain her composure. Prosecutor Erin Wolfson started her questioning by asking Rhonda if she knew Michael Dunn. Yes, she said through tears. He is her fiancé, and they had known each other for 6 years. Rhonda told the court that she and Dunn lived in Satellite Beach, a small community on Florida's Atlantic coast. The two had gone to Jacksonville for Dunn's son's wedding and started their day with breakfast at Mimi's Cafe. They left their hotel to go to the wedding between 3 and 3:15 p.m., she told prosecutors. The wedding was in Orange Park, and Dunn drove them in his black Volkswagen Jetta for the 25-minute journey. At a reception directly after the wedding, Rhonda said she drank a glass of red wine and 3 rum and cokes. She also had a glass of champagne during the toast. Prosecutors asked how many drinks Dunn had, and Rhonda said she thought he had 3 or 4 rum and cokes at the reception. He may have had a sip of champagne, she said, but didn't drink the whole glass because he didn't like champagne. The couple left the wedding around 7 p.m. before the reception was over because they wanted to get back to their 7-month-old puppy who was crated in their hotel room. Once again, Dunn drove. Prosecutors asked if Rhonda was worried about Michael driving, as he had been drinking. She said she didn't think twice and that he didn't appear to be under the influence. On their way to the hotel, they stopped at the Gate gas station because they hadn't eaten much that day and wanted some snacks to take back to their hotel room. Rhonda said they parked really close to a red truck and noticed that even with all the car windows up, she could hear music coming from the inside. She couldn't make out the lyrics, but she could hear the bass, she said. It wasn't so loud, though, she said, that their car was rattling or anything like that. After they had parked, but before she got out of the car, Rhonda said she remembered Dunn saying, "I hate that thug music." She kissed her fiancé, took $20 from his wallet, and went into the store. She went inside and looked for a bottle of wine and Cape Cod potato chips. She was walking to the cash register when she heard the shots.
Where were you when you first heard pop, pop, pop?
I was walking, the register kind of goes like you have a long, and then the cash register is right here. So I was kind of walking up the aisle, and the clerk was standing there.
Were you at all paying attention to what was going on outside?
No, I wasn't.
What did you do when you first heard those gunshots?
I said, "What was that?"
And were you speaking as the cashier in front of you?
Yes, I was.
What did you hear next?
When I heard another pop, pop, pop.
And what did you do after you heard the second set of pop, pop, pop?
Well, I didn't do anything. The cashier said, there's a guy and he has a gun. And I turned around to see who she was talking about.
Ms. Rauer, when you turned around, what did you see?
I saw Michael looking out his driver's door.
And in what position was the driver's door?
And the door was open.
And could you see a body profile, the profile of the defendant at that time?
Yes, I could.
Could you describe for the jury what position he was in?
It was like he was facing out the door.
Could you see what he was doing with his hands?
No, I didn't see his hands.
Could you see whether or not he was crouched down at all?
No, I did not.
She left the chips and wine at the register. When she got outside, Dunn yelled at her to get back in the car, but she said she froze. Dunn asked her again, and she walked over to the car just in time to see him putting the gun back into the glove compartment. As soon as she was inside the car, Rhonda said Dunn reversed and drove out of the gas station's main exit. He was driving quickly, she said, and they went straight back to the hotel without calling 911. When they got back to the hotel, Rhonda changed her clothes and Dunn took the puppy outside to go to the bathroom. Rhonda said she went to sit by the elevators where there was a little lounge area, as she figured the police would be there soon. She was waiting for them. When Dunn returned from walking the dog, They sat together in the lounge for a little while. They eventually returned to the hotel room and ordered a pizza because Rhonda's stomach didn't feel well, and Dunn thought she should eat something. He made them both strong rum and cokes to have with their dinner. They went to bed and Rhonda said she woke up around 7 a.m. When she awoke, Dunn was in the bathroom and the television was on. She saw on the news that a teenager had been killed at the Gate gas station that night, and her stomach turned. She told Dunn she wanted to go home. She said she thought she was going to be arrested too and wanted to get their puppy taken care of before the police came. Rhonda and Dunn were supposed to go to St. Augustine, a historic city not far from Jacksonville, that night with Dunn's son, but they canceled the trip and instead went straight home. They left their hotel by 8 a.m. without eating breakfast or getting a cup of coffee. Dunn drove them the 2.5 hours it took to get home, and they arrived in Satellite Beach by 10:30. Back in Satellite Beach, Rhonda got a phone call from a Jacksonville number. She handed the phone to Dunn because she thought it might be his son. Instead, it was a homicide detective. Rhonda was also a key witness for the defense. She knew Michael Dunn better than anyone. During cross-examination, Corey Strolla was relatively gentle with her. He asked if she had been upset by what had happened. Rhonda said she was very upset and very shocked about the shooting. He asked if, when they returned home, she and Dunn had made an effort to hide the black Volkswagen Jetta that was undeniably linked to the shooting. She said no. Dunn had parked the car next to the hotel entrance while they were there, and then he parked the car in front of their home when they returned. Strolla was curious about Dunn's tone at the Gate gas station when he said, "I hate that thug music." Rhonda said he hadn't acted angry or hit the dashboard, and he certainly hadn't threatened anyone in her presence. During the prosecution's questioning of Rhonda, prosecutor Aaron Wolfson had asked about how much alcohol Rhonda and Dunn had consumed at the wedding. Strolla's questions sought to contextualize how many drinks they had. "Do you and Mr. Dunn have alcoholic beverages when you go to dinner?" he asked. "Yes," Rhonda said. "They also drink at home and when they are at friends' homes," she told him. She reiterated for Strolla that Dunn did not seem impaired from the alcohol at all at the time of the shooting. Strolla also pressed Rhonda on the details of the evening after the shooting. He had Rhonda clarify why Dunn had ordered a pizza and why they watched a movie. Rhonda said they did both things to help settle her stomach and get her to relax. Strolla also asked Rhonda about whether they were rushing to flee Jacksonville the morning after the shooting, or if they were trying to get organized before dealing with the police. Rhonda said they left to get themselves and their dog settled before they were inevitably questioned by the police. The prosecution's final witnesses included the medical examiner who did Jordan Davis's autopsy following the shooting. Stacy Simons, a forensic pathologist and the county medical examiner, said that Jordan's body was brought to them hours after he died. He had no drugs or alcohol in his system, according to a toxicology report, she said, and he was killed by multiple gunshot wounds. Simons testified that Jordan had likely been killed while seated, given the nature of his injuries and the information she received from law enforcement about the bullet holes in the Durango. This testimony conflicted with the defense's assertion that Jordan had been standing up and pointing a shotgun at Dunn before he was killed. Simons also said that Jordan was 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighed 145 pounds with clothes, shoes, and while wrapped in the sheet used by the medical examiner to transport bodies. She said she believed he likely weighed less than 145 pounds at the time of his death. This piece of evidence was interesting in light of the fact that Dunn was 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighed more than 200 pounds. By those standards, prosecutors argued, Dunn shouldn't have been afraid of a teenage boy who was significantly smaller than he was. The prosecution rested their case on day 3, after Simons's testimony. The defense's first witnesses were Michael Dunn's friends. On the fourth day of the trial, they all said that Dunn was a stand-up guy who was always polite and calm in their presence. Many of these friends had met Dunn through his hobby, flying airplanes, and were also friends with his parents. Randy Berry was one such friend. He testified that he met Dunn in the year 2000 and that they became close, spending holidays together and forming a tight-knit group of friends. I always thought he was a gentleman, he said. Beverly Berry, Randy Berry's wife, also testified that she had never observed anything other than a calm demeanor. She said the news of Dunn's arrest had shocked their community. Dunn's friend's testimony was very brief, and so was prosecutor Angela Corey's cross-examinations. She questioned how well the Berrys really knew Dunn. Were they better friends with his parents or with him? Prosecutor Corey asked Beverly Berry if they had ever played rap music at their gatherings when Dunn was present. No, she said. Had Beverly ever seen Dunn interact with black teenagers? No, she said. Christopher Dunn, Michael's son, testified that his father hadn't been angry at the wedding, and there wasn't any animosity between his father or any of the other wedding guests. Strolla asked Christopher if he had seen his father pounding drinks, and Christopher said he hadn't. In fact, Christopher said his father seemed to be in a really good mood that night. Michael Dunn took the stand on the fifth day of the trial for several hours, telling his side of the story. He had been jailed since his arrest on November 23, 2012, but had been in constant communication with Rhonda and his family, sending them letters decrying the media's portrayal of him and the prosecution's depiction of his alleged crimes. His testimony would be key for his case, as it would be the only chance the jury had to hear about what he said he felt and experienced before the shooting. Dunn repeated what his fiancée, Rhonda Rower, had told the court and said they left the wedding early to let out their puppy. On their way back to the hotel, Dunn said they stopped at the gas station and he parked closest to the convenience store's door, next to a Durango. Yes, Dunn said, there were other parking spots available, but they were further away, and he wanted to be close to the door since Rhonda was only running in for a few items. Dunn said he couldn't recall if the music was blasting from the Durango when he parked next to it, but it quickly became an issue. He said he had asked people to turn down their music before. He was hard of hearing in his right ear, which causes his left ear to overcompensate. He said the music was so loud he was physically uncomfortable. He said he rolled down his window and asked the boys to turn it down. I said, "Can you turn it down, please?" The boys turned the music off and Dunn said thank you. The front windows of the truck were tinted and rolled up, so he couldn't see who was inside, but the back windows were down, and he could see Jordan Davis.
How soon after that did anything else happen other than that kind of moments of silence we just talked about?
Very soon after, I started hearing things like F him and F that, and, it's...
Now, instead of saying, were they actually saying the word, or are you paraphrasing?
I'm paraphrasing.
Okay. Was it in a nice tone? Was it, what kind of the tone?
No, it was mean-spirited, just like annoyed, if you will.
Okay. And once you heard these comments, did you look back over and react at all?
Not even a little bit.
Did you roll your window down and say anything?
No, I did not.
Did it make you angry?
No, it did not.
Did you punch your steering wheel?
No.
Did you throw your phone down?
No reaction at all.
Okay. And at that point, after you don't react at all, does it escalate?
Well, the music came back on.
Did the music come back on same or even louder?
No, it's probably a little bit less loud than it was, but it came back on.
And was it still that bass thump?
Yes, absolutely.
Dunn told Strolla that when the music was turned on again, he was going to just deal with it. But then he said he started to feel threatened.
And again, did you turn and yell at the guys in the SUV?
When they turned the music on the second time, I wasn't going to ask him for any more favors again.
Okay. And did you still hear somebody yelling and cursing at that time?
I did. Now it got ugly. I heard, something cracker. Just.
Did you actually hear certain words, or again, are you paraphrasing?
I heard some things.
Okay. And without going those specific terms, you kind of knew what they were saying to you.
Yes, I did.
Now, again, you're not showing any reaction. At this point, the things escalate out of the person yelling at you in the SUV.
Yeah, because, when the F this and F that, there was no music playing and I could hear him. Now there's thumping bass and I can hear him. His voice is elevating.
Can you hear him because he's yelling so loud it's over the bass?
It's over that thumping noise.
Okay. And does this yelling now include threats of violence against you?
Well, after hearing the something cracker and this and that, I hear, I should kill that motherfucker.
How many times did you hear that?
I heard him say that, and I wasn't sure if that's what I heard.
All right, this time are you trying to listen a little closer?
And now I'm listening closely. Like, when I'm sitting there, I'm kind of thinking about the nice day we had. I'm thinking about St. Augustine tomorrow. But when this, I should kill that motherfucker comes through, now I'm paying attention to what they're saying.
Okay. That kind of got you to perk up?
Yes. And then even a more elevated voice, I hear, I should fucking kill that motherfucker. And now he's screaming.
Okay.
There's no mistake of what he said. That is what he said.
Do you then look over to see, is somebody talking to you?
I did. In fact, I'm to the point where I think it's time to try to de-escalate this.
Okay. And what do you mean by that?
To try to calm things down.
He said he lowered his car window and asked them, "Are you talking about me?" When he was saying this, he said he saw Tommy Storns out of the corner of his eye, walking back to the car. But he was really looking at the guy sitting in the rear passenger seat, who we now know was Jordan Davis. He said he could clearly see into the vehicle, and he saw two young men with, quote, menacing expressions.
And why did you ask that as a question if they were talking about you?
Well, they were saying they wanted to kill the MFer, and I wanted to know if I was that MFer.
Okay. And if they did say yes, and you said you wanted to de-escalate it, what were your intentions of talking to that back passenger?
Well, I wanted to make it clear that I had said thank you. I mean, I didn't mean any disrespect by asking him to turn the music down.
He said he didn't escalate the conversation, but that Jordan responded to him and said, "Yeah, I am talking to you."
He reached forward and picked something up and slammed it against the door.
Okay, when you said he reached forward, did he reach into that?
I'm sorry, he reached down.
Okay. Down towards his feet?
Down towards, I could see his shoulders move. I couldn't see his hands. But you can imagine if somebody's shoulders move forward that they're reaching down.
All right. Could you see him actually lean down towards the floor of that car?
Yes, I did.
He said he was feeling threatened, but he didn't reach for his firearm or try to get away at this point. He said he then froze in fear when he saw the barrel of a gun sticking out above the Durango's window where Jordan was sitting. He said he knows what a shotgun looks like because he used to shoot sporting clays pretty regularly with his father. Still, he said, he didn't reach for his firearm at that point.
He slammed something against the door and said, yeah, I'm going to fucking kill you. Because when I asked him, are you talking about me? He was just saying I should kill that MFer. And I asked him, are you talking about me? And I didn't know what it was at first. But when he says, yeah, I'm going to fucking kill you, I look and I'm looking at a barrel. He's showing me a gun and he's threatening me.
He said he was stunned and feared for his life. He wasn't just threatened, he was threatened with death. He said he was also afraid that Rhonda might be caught in the crossfire and be injured. It wasn't just my life, he told Strolla, but also hers. At that moment, Strolla asked Dunn what changed for him. Why did things escalate further? What prompted Dunn to pull out his pistol?
I didn't react to this. I'm just like processing what's going on. And this young man in the back seat, the back passenger seat, opens his door, like he cracked it. He just popped it open.
Could you hear the door unhinge?
Yes, and I saw it move just a little bit.
Okay. And at that point, because you've already said you were in fear of your life when he said, "You're dead, bitch," with the gun, right?
Well, he said he was going to effing kill me, but after he opened the door, then he looked at me and said, "You're dead, bitch."
And were you still sitting there in shock?
Yes, I was.
Were you still in fear for your life?
I became even more fearful at that point.
Okay. At that point, what did you believe was about to happen to you?
I thought I was going to be killed.
He said still, he didn't pull out his gun. Then he said he saw Jordan get out of the car.
After the continued threat of "You're dead, bitch," now the door opens and this young man gets out. And as his head clears the window frame, he says, "This shit's going down now."
Dunn admitted that he didn't see Jordan with a gun as he got out of the car, but said he felt it was still a clear and present danger. He reached for his pistol in the car's glove compartment, stripped off the holster, cocked the gun in the window, and pointed it in the direction of his alleged attacker.
What went through my mind is that this was a clear and present danger, and I said, "You're not going to kill me, you son of a bitch."
Michael Dunn testified that he does not recall how many times he fired, but according to law enforcement testimony and records, 9 shots were fired that night.
My hearing kind of dimmed, my senses just kind of, everything faded in the background, and it was focus on the target and pulling the trigger.
With that target being the door?
Just the door.
Why were you shooting at the door?
Well, that's where the threat was coming from. That was the last place I saw my attacker, and that was about as far back as I could get in my position.
Dunn told Strolla that after the shooting, he was shaking like a leaf, but was trying to be stoic and process what had just happened. At the same time, he said, he was worried that the young men might come back or send others after him. When Rhonda came out of the store, Dunn said he told her he had acted out of self-defense and that they weren't in trouble with the local police. "We might be in trouble with the local gangsters, but not the police," he said he told her. Dunn drove the couple back to the hotel and said they spent the night exactly as Rhonda had described earlier in the trial. He walked the dog, ordered a pizza, and poured them drinks so they could try and relax. Unlike Rhonda, Dunn said he couldn't fall asleep until 5 a.m. He was having trouble processing the shooting and felt extremely shaken up. He watched the news all night and used his phone to look up information about the shooting. When he found out that someone had been killed at the gas station, he said he went to the bathroom, sick to his stomach. He was in the bathroom trying to clean himself up when Rhonda woke up and saw the news for herself. Dunn said Rhonda was an emotional wreck when she found out about Jordan Davis's death, but he tried to soothe her by saying he'd done nothing wrong. "I knew I had done nothing wrong, but it was hard to get her to understand it," Dunn said. Strolla asked Dunn if he believed that morning that he was going to be accused of the murder. "Absolutely not," he replied. Strolla then asked questions about Dunn's pilot license. Was it active? Did he have a passport on hand? Did he have cash? Did he have access to a plane? Did he contact airlines? Did he contact a car rental? Did he buy a bus pass? Dunn said no to all the questions, which were meant to insinuate that he hadn't tried to flee and that he was confident that he had acted in self-defense. When Dunn got home to Satellite Beach around 10:30 a.m., he said he contacted his friend and neighbor who worked for federal law enforcement. He walked for about 3 minutes to his friend's house, and told him what had happened in Jacksonville. He was shortly after that called by the Jacksonville police, and he told them that he was going to the Brevard County Sheriff's Office to be questioned. He didn't take his gun with him and didn't try to get out of it, he said. But instead, officers showed up at Dunn's home, and he was instructed to come out of the house with his shirt off and hands up. He told the court that he was considered by law enforcement to be a high-risk arrest because he had left the scene of the shooting without calling 911. He didn't understand that, he told Strolla, but complied with police orders and didn't try to resist or flee. He was put inside a police car and taken to the sheriff's office to be interviewed. Dunn said he spoke to the two detectives who interviewed him freely, as he had nothing to hide. He said he was cooperative and wasn't trying to be evasive or disrespectful, but that the officers were combative with him. He said he didn't know at the time that they had a warrant for his arrest. Assistant State's Attorney John Guy handled the cross-examination. As expected, it was the most lengthy cross-examination during the trial. Prosecutor Guy started by asking Dunn why Rhonda was so shaken up and scared by Dunn's actions. If he had acted out of self-defense, and she knew that, surely she would have been calm and collected. He also questioned Dunn's testimony about how he said he was trying to de-escalate the situation by rolling down his window and asking if the boys were talking about him.
The truth is, sir, when you rolled down your window and said, "Are you talking about me?" you were challenging this 17-year-old boy.
I don't believe so. I put the inflection on me.
Mm-hmm. And the truth is, he took your challenge, didn't he? And said, "Yeah, I am talking to you."
He didn't say that. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to fucking kill you."
Well, I guess you got your answer, didn't you? You were being disrespected by a mouthy teenager, weren't you?
No, I was being threatened. Threatening to kill somebody isn't a disrespect. That is just crazy.
Prosecutor Guy then focused on when they got back to the hotel. He asked what they were waiting for in the elevator lounge after the shooting. Dunn said he was waiting for the Durango to come back and retaliate. Prosecutor Guy asked Dunn how many times he told Rhonda that the boys had a gun. Dunn said numerous times. According to Rhonda's testimony and deposition transcripts, there was no mention anywhere that Dunn had told her that Jordan had a gun. But during his testimony, Dunn was firm that he had mentioned it several times to her. He said she probably forgot because she had gotten a lot of things wrong in her testimony, including that he had called the boys' music thug music.
That's how what Rhonda characterized. I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall saying, "I hate that thug music"?
No, if I would have said anything, I would have called it rap crap. Thug music isn't a term I would use.
So Ms. Rower got that wrong?
I wasn't going to say anything about it, but I don't recall saying that, and that's not a term I would use.
Okay, but I mean, she wasn't upset when y'all were at the gate station, right? When you pulled
No,
in.
but realize there's a lot of trauma afterwards, and she could have imagined something.
She could have imagined it. You could have imagined a gun, correct?
Anything's possible, sir. It's just not likely. Like I said, between his threats and actions, they were reinforcing what my eyes were telling me.
During cross-examination, Dunn also implied that Jordan may have actually shot at him first, something that Prosecutor Guy seemed to be incredulous about.
I mean, we didn't miss that, right? I mean, he didn't shoot you, right? He didn't shoot at you.
You know, if you listen to the video, there is some kind of pop. I don't know if that was him or somebody else, but...
Hold on. Are you telling this jury that Jordan Davis discharged a firearm at you?
I have no knowledge of what he did or didn't do.
Well, you know what a shotgun sounds like, right?
Sure.
It's not quiet, is it?
No, it's a boom. It's a distinctive boom.
Okay, so we would have heard a shotgun go off.
You would have, and the pop I'm talking to, it sounds a little weak. I'm not sure what the heck that is.
But it's not a shotgun going on?
No.
So you were not shot at?
Well, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I heard on the audio. You guys will hear it.
Prosecutor Guy asked Dunn to think back to the moments before the shooting, when he said he heard Jordan threaten him. He asked Dunn if his window was up during this exchange. Dunn said yes, his windows had been rolled up, but he could hear the boys over the loud music. Prosecutor Guy asked Dunn again, how was he able to hear everything with his windows up and the music playing so loudly it was causing him physical discomfort? Dunn admitted that he couldn't hear everything, but that he could tell Jordan was irate. Also on direct, Dunn had testified that he yelled, "You're not going to kill me, you son of a bitch," before he fired his gun. Prosecutor Guy asked him about this.
You said to him, "You're not going to kill me, you son of a bitch."
That's right.
Right? And you're telling this jury you didn't raise your voice when you did that?
I said that more of to myself. I mean, I'm inside the car getting my pistol. So I'm not saying it to him. I'm saying this is a thing that I'm saying out loud.
Okay. Did you say it out loud?
Yes, I did.
And you don't think this guy heard you?
I hope he did.
You hope he did?
Sure. That's part of any self-defense is you want to yell and kind of like stun your attacker.
Right. And when you yelled, "You're not going to kill me, you son of a bitch," he still didn't fire?
Thankfully, no.
Prosecutor Guy also asked Dunn why he got out of his car and fired more shots at the Durango as it was fleeing, if he was so afraid of being killed. Dunn said he got out and went behind the fleeing vehicle because he believed it made him less vulnerable to attack, given that people don't normally drive forward and shoot backwards. Dunn then blamed tunnel vision on the fact that he was still pulling the trigger as the Durango drove away. He said he believed he only shot 3 rounds, but knows it was actually 6. Prosecutor Guy corrected Dunn and said he fired 9 shots, not 6, and definitely not 3.
You thought everybody in the car was a thug or a gangster, right?
After the way they behaved, yes, I did. Their thoughts.
The way they behaved?
Well, the one man in particular, but his neighbor seemed to have been in agreement right there with him.
Okay, but the guy in the front seat actually turned the music down, right?
You're right. He was the reasonable one.
Right, and the driver, he didn't threaten you in any way, did he?
You're right. He did not.
Prosecutor Guy also questioned Dunn's actions after the shooting and why he decided to leave. Dunn said he thought it was best to leave the area for his safety. Why didn't he call the police if he felt scared and threatened? Guy asked. Dunn said he knew it sounded crazy, but he couldn't tell Prosecutor Guy what he was thinking at the time. He was in a panic, he said. Dunn's testimony marked the end of the defense's witnesses, but there was one more piece of crucial testimony left. The prosecution called Rhonda Rower, Dunn's fiancée, back to the stand to answer a few more questions before the end of the trial. Their particular interest was with whether Dunn had ever told her that Jordan had a gun. Did Dunn ever tell Rhonda that he saw a weapon in the Durango? Did Dunn ever mention that he had seen something like a stick poking out of the window? Here was her answer.
There was no mention of a stick?
No.
There was no mention of a shotgun?
No.
There was no mention of a barrel?
No.
There was no mention of a lead pipe?
No.
Back in the hotel room, Miss Rower, that same night, did the defendant ever tell you that he saw the boys with a firearm?
No.
Did he ever tell you that he saw the boys with a weapon?
No.
On the 2-hour drive back to Brevard the following morning, did the defendant ever tell you that he saw a gun in the SUV?
No.
And on that 2-hour drive, did he ever tell you he saw a weapon of any kind in that SUV?
No.
After the closing arguments, Judge Russell Healy, who presided over the case, spent an hour giving the jury their instructions and then sent them off to deliberate. On February 14th, after 30 hours of deliberations, the jury returned with their verdict. Michael Dunn was guilty on 3 counts of attempted murder, but the jury could not come to an agreement on whether he was guilty of first-degree murder for the killing of Jordan Davis. 10 jurors believed Dunn to be guilty of the first-degree murder charge, while 2 jurors held out that the shooting was justified. Judge Healy declared a mistrial on the murder charge. One of the jurors told ABC News Nightline after the trial that 2 jurors had believed Dunn to be justified in the shooting from the very beginning. Quote, "That was a thing that those 2 folks believed. He was frightened and there was no other option for him in regards to Mr. Davis. A life was taken. There is no longer a Jordan Davis. And there is only one reason why that is. The boy was shot and killed for reasons that should not have happened." Prosecutors announced immediately after the trial that they would retry Michael Dunn on the first-degree murder charge. Prosecutor Angela Corey said that because Judge Healy ruled a mistrial on the first-degree charge, they could retry Dunn solely on that single charge. She also dismissed questions from reporters about whether Dunn may have been overcharged for his crimes, as his lawyer and other critics of the prosecution believed. The state moved forward with Dunn's second trial on September 25, 2014. After similar testimony, but a new jury, Dunn was found guilty on the first-degree murder charge and sentenced to life in prison without parole, plus 90 extra years for the 3 attempted murder convictions. Dunn filed an appeal to overturn his sentence with the First District Court in Florida on the grounds that he had ineffective counsel and that his lawyers should have hired an audio expert to check the audio on surveillance tapes that they said would have shown Jordan Davis firing a gun at Dunn before the fatal shooting. The appeal was considered by a panel of 3 judges and was rejected on November 17, 2016. At the end of the first trial, Jordan Davis's family spoke with media and supporters to share their grief and their hope that justice would eventually be served for their son's murder. Ronald Davis, Jordan's father, described a long 450-day journey to the verdict and said he did not accept laws that allowed children to be collateral damage. He said Jordan was a good kid and he wanted the laws to protect Jordan. Lucy McBath, Jordan's mother, said she was grateful for some closure. She said she and her family prayed for Dunn, who would be spending his life behind bars one way or another. McBath, who had been working as a flight attendant at the time of her son's death, used her grief to fight for change. After Jordan's death, she joined Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, a group that advocates for sensible gun laws in the wake of the 2012 Sandy Hook elementary school shooting. She also joined Mothers of the Movement, a group of African American women whose children have been killed by gun violence. She was active in defeating Florida legislation that would expand campus carry laws in the state. Then, in 2018, Lucy McBath ran for the United States Congress in her home district in Georgia.
Today, 6th District Congresswoman Karen Handel conceded Tuesday's election and congratulated the Democrat who beat her, Lucy McBath.
She won. Well, it has been nearly 8 years since Jordan's murder. On the anniversary of his death, friends, family, and former classmates always crank their music loud to remember him. And that's all for today's episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think about this case. Do you agree with the verdict and sentencing? Let me know by joining our conversation on Instagram @CourtJunkie, by tweeting me @CourtJunkiePod, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Today's episode was researched and written by Kathleen McWilliams. And if you'd like to hear these episodes ad-free, check out how you can do that and listen to additional Court Junkie bonus episodes by going to courtjunkie.com/support. Thanks everyone for listening. Until next time. Starting a podcast? Then check out Launchpad DM, powered by Podcast One. Launchpad is the place to launch and host your new or existing podcast. Did we mention that it's free? It's easy to use and provides podcasters with overall control and flexibility versus the platforms of any competitor. Launchpad provides unlimited hosting and access to a dashboard with all of your show's analytics. You own and control everything, including your subscribers. Launchpad DM is a great discovery tool to help people find your podcast. You may even get invited to join the official Podcast One roster with even more perks like access to producers, marketers, sales teams, and more. Sign up today at launchpaddm.com and let us help you become the next big podcaster. That's launchpaddm.com.
Have you ever wondered if there is a dark side to your neighbor? The cashier at the supermarket, the delivery driver, the person that sleeps beside you. Examining those cases that are scarily close to home, the award-winning podcast They Walk Among Us explores both lesser-known crimes committed by seemingly ordinary people, along with diving deep into those cases splashed across the headlines. They Walk Among Us has been praised by The Guardian, who called the show a cult hit. The Financial Times referred to it as sharply written, and the New Statesman labelled it the mysterious true crime podcast that'll keep you up at night. Listen to They Walk Among Us on Acast or anywhere you listen to podcasts.